And we're live. Good morning. It's Wednesday, so you know what that means. It must be Woke Women Wednesday. Senator Dianne Wilkerson with you here. Welcome. We're in the middle of some just beautiful weather. Some people call it a heat wave. I don't. I like the heat. If it gets to be too much for you, that means you're moving too fast. Just slow down. You all know how we do. You know what I do every Wednesday when I'm here with you. I always start by saying I have to give special thanks to the Sisters with the Vision who knew how important it was and continues to be for us to have a media through which we can get timely, important, factual information about and for Black people, Black and brown people. And it just so happened, although we started in May of 2020, it really wasn't about COVID. This discussion and planning had been in place. I talk about the Sisters with the Vision, but I've never had any of those sisters here with me today. So this is going to be a special treat, a surprise for you. One of those sisters, people know her as Sandy Robinson, who is I'm going to say she is the seasoning. Now, how about that? How about that, Sandy? I'll call you the seasoning.
I like that.
The history, the wisdom of the team, and I thought it would be great to have you here. If you don't know Sandy Robinson, you don't know Boston. That's what I would say. You don't know Sandy Robinson, you don't know radio. Because this adventure started for her well before Woke Women Wednesday. So I would love to welcome you, Sandy. I want you to tell people kind of how you got here, and then we're gonna talk about WWOC. But this was a long road for you.
Yes,
a lot of information, ladies and gentlemen. Sandy Robinson.
Oh, thank you, Dianne.
Welcome.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that. Well, I don't know where to really begin. I came to Boston in the 60s. And
how did you get interested in radio? This is what I want to know.
I came to Boston in the 60s, and I wanted to be an actress.
You are.
And so in any case, my mother was very much against that in my family. So I had my aunt living in Boston. I'm from Virginia. And so when I got here, I went into social work. Actually, that was my first job, working with Roxbury, North Dorchester, APAC. I don't know if anyone remembers those.
Of course.
And then after a few years doing that, and I worked at Roxbury Children's Services as a
remember that well,
foster care and adoptions, and because that was my second leaning, social services, social work. But my heart was always into acting or theater and that kind of thing, and so I was fortunate enough to get into the theater company of Boston, which was something back in the day. Wasn't a whole lot of people of color in there.
I was going to say full of black folks, right? Nah.
But I got in there for a little bit, and then I met my husband, got married, and all that stuff. And so then I said I got to get myself something else more steady now, and that's when I started to work. I started to work for Boston Children's Services, which was the parent company of Roxbury Children's Services that I had started off with. And then after dealing with all the stress and aggravation of going to court and taking children and putting them in different families, and I ran across one little girl in my life of being a social worker, whose name was the same as my daughter's name, and she had been very traumatized, and it just hit me. I was younger then, of course, and I got traumatized easily, I guess. And so I said, no, I can't do this. This little girl reminds me of my own girl. And so I said, I got to do something else. And so I spoke to my friend Malik Abdahalik, the late Malik Abdahalik. He owned Anubian Notions, and he says, and I used to have a very short, afro at the time. And I used to go there to get my hair done. And he says, well, why don't you try, since you said that you wanted to get in the theater, why don't you try television or radio? to start off with. And I said, I says, he says, you could be an Oprah, Sandy, because you got the conversation. I said, yes, I could try that. But then I said, I don't know much about television. So I says, I'll take a course very quickly. And I took a course very quickly in radio TV production. And then I got into, Malik told me, I know the Black radio station owner here. I'll introduce you. And so I met him and I got into radio through Ken Nash. He hired me on the spot and I became a sales rep, an account executive. That's what it was. And that's my entrance into radio. Ken hired me and I became an account executive at WILD. And then from that, I became the local sales manager. And then I was the director of education, a whole bunch of different jobs. I did everything at WILD because I was able to do many things. And I always wanted to be able to do different things. That's why I wanted to be an actress.
You know what's fascinating is that how often it's you never get too old to learn, and you think you know people, and then you hear this story. I've never heard the story about the connection with the Abdulhalik family, but I'm not at all surprised.
Yes, Malik was the one who introduced me to Ken Nash, who hired me at WILD Radio. And I will say the year. I'm getting up there now, so now I'm getting that. In 1983.
Well, actually, to me, that's not that long ago. But here was what I would say is that is everyone who I would say maybe over 40, maybe over 50 in Boston or any connection to Boston knows WILD radio. And it was the place. When I came to Boston, it was my connection. I lived in Austin, Brighton. It was my connection to my people. Like I learned where to go get hair grease at the time, right? Where to go get stockings that match my skin. I had to come to Roxbury. I had to come because I had to come to Dudley. But all my connection, my lifeline was WILD radio for sure. And so that's a time ago, and a lot of I'd say pivotal moments in Boston's Black history played out during that time frame that you're talking about. And then and here we are. Like you have been an incredible source of information, history, but more importantly, a mentor. Sandy will talk about radio with anybody, anywhere, anytime.
Absolutely.
Right? And she knows, for me, she's got an eager student because I love radio. All of the technology aside, I love radio. And so I want you to talk about kind of this like kind of last decade. Here we are, WWOC. What was the thinking? What was the talking? I'm going to actually introduce to our family soon some of the other women that I talk about, the women with the vision. But I wanted to do this contrast because this is really kind of legacy meets future. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Young people with an idea. So much negative conversation in Boston about young people versus old people. Old people need to get out the way and move out of the way. Let us move in and take over. And what I admire about this process for WWOC is that the young women intuitively knew they needed that sage wisdom. They needed it. And that's really how we should be in elevation, transcending, ascendancy, leaving legacy is finding that niche. And it looks to me, and I feel like you all have that. I'm here because of you. And I always also have to say, the second half of my intro every week, I come in the morning at 11 and I bring you all things Black, brown, we say, and COVID, but that it just means everything because COVID has infiltrated every part of our life. And then in the evening, my fierce and fearless warrior, City Councilor Julia Mejia, she closes it out. So even in the programming, we have this bookend because, I feel fine, right? And I know I look good. But I'm in that. I'm with you, Sandy. And then we have Julia, who brings that different level of generational energy and it's just a good mix. So talk about that, the work that you do with young people who are interested in radio.
Well, what I do is I usually say, when I run into some young folks, I usually say, I'm from old school. And so, I'm not what you call the hip hopper. I'm more of the R&B and jazz and gospel person. And more recently, reggae and that house music. So that was back, earlier. But now I always say, if you really want to get into the history of what happened in radio in Boston back in the early parts, I mean, as early as the 80s and the 90s and the beginning of 2000, I can talk my butt off. But if you want to get into the depths of the hip hops and the hip hop generation, you need to talk to my partners, and that is Courtney and T. So anyway, they're the ones that I refer to whenever it's hip hop. I mean, I do my thing and I make my suggestions and my ideas based upon what radio is about, because that's ultimately what we are about, is the radio. Right. We do the education part too. We do the radio, and we do a podcast, and very soon we're going to be doing some television. So we want to be all things in the media and communication. But in terms of the new generations, and we have some things coming up in the future too, they're the ones who are spearheading that. Okay. So when you talk to the other partners on that, I'm here to tell you about how we started, how we got there, how I got into woke media. And that was from, actually Courtney was the person who contacted me and said, we're doing certain things and we want to see if you'd be interested in joining us, because we need a old head, so to speak.
The funny thing
that became the old head.
You know that when I sent you and Courtney the text asking you to be my guest, I said to Courtney in particular, who has really just been carving out her own space as like the go-to moderator in some really important spaces. And I said, we're going to turn the tables. You're going to be the interviewee for a change. And she jumped at it. She said, yes, because I do think it's important to stop and share. I want you to talk about we reached a milestone last July, 2 years.
Yes.
But last month, in that we did something really different. And I want you to talk about that, because people are still buzzing about it, right? At 54 Park.
Yes, we did a live broadcast, and we had, it was very successful. And I think that's another thing we're going to be doing. We hope to do that once a month, a live broadcast at a different location in the community, because our goal is to highlight different businesses, especially businesses that are Black and brown businesses as well. And we went to 54 Park, and it was excellent. We had 3 guests, I believe, on that.
Yes, we did.
And all 3 of them made a wonderful contribution. They've been in the community. They know what's happening, and that's the kind of thing we're trying to do. Now, when we went to 54 Park, that's a brand new restaurant in the area that is owned by a Black team of people, and so we highlighted them as well.
Exactly.
And they were very good to us, and all the people who came out. We even did what is that? We did a sort of a raffle, doing that thing, and we did the food, and we get the sort of a little entertainment, a small entertainment piece there. But in the meantime, I think that the next one is going to be even better.
Of course, everyone we get better. So what Sandy didn't share with you all is that, well, obviously those of you who are watching, we come to you in the most convenient way. You click a button and here we are.
Oh, yes.
You can watch on Wednesday. And I always tell people, you're moving around, you're busy. This is to me a Saturday night, a Friday night. Get your cup of tea or your glass of wine, if that's your pleasure, and click on your phone and watch the 35 minutes. Why? Because we always have important information for you. In addition to just fun guests, and it's important, but it is virtual, right? But in March of 2022, to celebrate Women's History Month, we did the traveling, the on-site. Every Wednesday in March, we traveled around, as Sandy said, again, her brainchild, a different Black or brown venue, so that we were able to really, as people were just chatting, just climbing out of COVID for a minute, able to go and be in space with other people, right? And so we traveled. We did Soleil Restaurant. We did Fort Hill Bar and Grill. We did Dosa Habana and Crosstown. We did Daryl's Bar and Grill, right?
Yeah.
And so Daryl's Bar and Kitchen, I'm sorry. And so we had some incredible women guests.
Yes, we did.
Introduce people to some of the statewide candidates running for office. It was fabulous. But in July, the difference is we certainly went to this fabulous new restaurant, Park 54. We had male guests. Just want people to know. Although we say Women Wednesday, right?
Our first male guest. That was it.
First male guest. Sagan Idowu, our Chief of Economic Development and Policy for the City of Boston. Imani Paris Jeffries, the President, Executive Director of King Boston. And we also had Reverend Willie Broderick, who is the new President, CEO of TAC, the American Cities Coalition. All of them, all these young brothers, really contributing some mighty, important contributions to this whole kind of evolving economic picture for Black people and brown people in Boston. And that's really the message overall for Women Wednesday. We want to bring you information. We want to support businesses. But just know, this is Sandy's brainchild. She comes up with these ideas and she's like, oh, okay, Sandy, we're going to make this happen.
I love it. It reminds me of the old WILD, and people are constantly trying to replicate that. And I think that, because I've been at various different stations, but I think we've come the closest to replicating WILD.
That's exciting because it speaks to the future, and just people should expect some exciting, new, and innovative ideas. But always focused on bringing you information, right?
Absolutely.
Bringing you information. WWOC was a very important media partner with the Black Boston COVID-19 Coalition during COVID, and helping us get the word out about, information around testing, information around vaccination sites, information around just the education that is going on. And I actually am looking forward to continuing that relationship as we move into this next medical new reality called monkeypox. And in fact, the city of Boston is moving very quietly but steadily around a presentation and education to the whole community, because nothing more important, Sandy, than just accurate information, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Accurate information. I think that WWOC was a major, largely responsible for the information spread around really access, and when people could go, where to go, to get not just the gift cards and food boxes, but the testing and vaccination. And now, Sandy, here we are in August, right? Just weeks before the kids will be going back to school, and we're reading reports that say that Black children are the only 20%, 23%, I think was the number I saw the other day, of Black children from 5 to 11 years old in Boston are vaccinated. Now, that number for white children that same age is somewhere around 75%. And yes, and so my guess is that as we get close to the beginning of the opening of school, you're going to see those numbers jump, right? Because parents will realize, okay, vacation's over. I got to send my children back into that building where it's closed, right? Closed quarters, large numbers, and I'm going to need to protect them. And so we'll be ready. And certainly WWOC is going to be there. But just to provide the information.
Yeah.
Talk about your thinking of the state of WWOC in terms of that social responsibility and activity.
Thank you. We are primarily a music station, WW, in terms of entertainment and education. But when you need information about our community, that's Woke Women Wednesday. I think the majority of the people in this community are familiar with Woke Women Wednesday. And, we give out information there. That's what we have to talk. There's not a lot of talk going on in terms of our radio station. That's where we have our music, R&B, gospel, jazz, as well as hip hop. That's where you can get the music. So all those who want to hear that music say, I don't want to hear it. This is where you do. This is where you go. But when it comes to getting some information about what's going on in this community and what's going on in the city and things that's important to us, other than that entertainment factor, Woke Women Wednesday is the place where you should be. And that's the thing that I'm very proud of, because I think that, I was pushing that from the very beginning to make sure that we have a part of our media operation that is going to target our community with information and make sure that everybody has access. And that's what you need to do. When you want information and when you're looking for what's going on in terms of educational facts for your family or you need whatever your needs are, Woke Women Wednesday, that's the place. In terms of entertainment, we have that 24/7, as they say. But we have on Wednesdays, that's our day. Put that in your mind. That's your day for real information. Dianne and Julia are there giving that information every Wednesday. And I want folks to realize that. Not that we don't give some information out during the week also. It's just that that's where we concentrate our efforts, is on Woke Women Wednesday, to give out all the information. And we've had some wonderful guests that's been on our show, shared. We've had both the representatives of both of them. We've had what's her name? Damn, I can't. The Attorney General for Massachusetts, can never think of her name. She was on our show as well. So we've had some good guests. We've had the former school superintendent, and all
That's
the
right.
people who want to get
We've run the gamut. I'm telling you, some sisters that are doing some wonderful, wonderful things, from some of the on frontline nurses that were doing vaccination at the very beginning of the vaccination 2021 in COVID. We've had health specialists, the sisters from Whittier Street Health Center director. We've had the executive director and the commissioner of public health for the city of Boston, Dr. Basola Ojukutu, her deputy assistant director, Catherine Hall. We've had our dynamic, I call her dynamic rock star Congresswoman, Ayanna Pressley, who again, it's hard for people to understand, and as you go about your business every day, the importance of what they're doing. You're going to get some blurbs on the news, but her office and her staff and she have been so vigilant about getting us information about what she's doing, what's happening on the federal level, right? We've had city councilors, we've had women in corporate and business, and it's just run the gamut. But the only reason that that Julia, Yahia, and I get to do that is because of the space that you all have created through WWOCradio.com and Woke Women Wednesday in particular. Um, it is just such a pleasure and an honor to me. I'm excited about what I know is coming, in terms of some of the guests that we've had. And sometimes people now approaching Sandy, literally on the street or on the beach and saying, I'd love to be on. And she makes sure to create the process for that to happen.
And we have one more little thing I forgot to mention that I'm involved in that I need to talk about. And that is a fun thing. And that's what I said when I said we did a raffle. That was what I meant. Martini Monday. That's one of my target shows that I do on Mondays with my business partner, Mia. And so we throw that out to you also as one of
y'all haven't seen y'all haven't seen an event until you do a Martini Monday.
Hey, listen,
production
that's
Sandy
our baby.
Robinson and Mia McElvain. I'm telling you right now, you better jump on it the next time you see something. It's just, we have been so isolated, right?
Yes.
Rightfully so, and protective. It has been such an exciting pleasure in this past few months, with caution, right? To begin to reintroduce ourselves to public spaces.
Exactly.
And you could see the faces of the people that were there, at the last Martini Monday. Just excited to see people in person, right?
Absolutely. And I'm working with another thing. And now that I have a time to talk, because I usually don't talk, believe it or not.
She does.
I usually just do things and point out things and shows. But basically, what's this doing here? But basically, there's a group that I'm involved with that I think is coming up as well that we would like to have on Woke Women Wednesday, and they're called BBATs. Boston's Black Ancestral Trailblazers. I'm involved.
Wow. That sounds fascinating.
And I want to make sure that they are also recognized for the things that they're doing. And so we use our platform here as a way to get businesses like that recognized. So they're coming up with something special. They have some programs called Beantown Brothers Talking, where they're highlighting Black men and how they feel about things that's going on in Boston, because a lot of people think Boston is not a city for people of color primarily, and that you can't thrive and you can't do this. And Beantown Brothers Talking addresses some of those issues. So that's another thing that I said I was going to see if we can get them involved with us in some way. And the reason that I mentioned them is because they're doing something special. And I told them with the NAACP coming up, their convention,
Yes.
So we want to tie some of those things together. And, and I'm just about trying to help Black businesses, basically,
My focus. I'm with you. I'm totally with you on this. I think that on Monday, actually, this August 8th at William Reed Auditorium in the Prince Hall Grand Lodge, I'm going to be rolling out a massive economic reset plan for what I call Black and Brown Boston. And I'm listening to you talk about BBAC, and I absolutely, it will fit right into what we're planning to do. People, I really urge you, if you're listening, to come. Come. This is our opportunity. Sandy knows well, because I talk about it everywhere I go. This is the first time that Massachusetts actually has money. And you read the press, you know that they just finished the legislative year, and what did the headline say? Billions in relief, still unspent. Well, guess what? In January, when they go back, we're going to have a plan for them to spend it where they should be spending it, and that is to try to make right and really recover and repair for the Black community that lost so much. I respect Sandy Robinson's work is because she's so focused on building our people, empowerment of our people, supporting the businesses. And people will look at you and say, "Oh, well, that's it's not racist." it's human nature. You know, the reason we do so much work supporting Black businesses is because Black businesses hire Black people. And when Black people get hired, our community is just better off. Our families live better. Our people are able to get out here and spend and support and not get buried, right, by the cost of just living these days. And so it's fun when we talk about it, but this is really serious business that you're in, Sandy, both in the support for Black business and creating a vehicle through media, right? A media vehicle for us to talk about it.
And I love it. I love it. But and I also want to say one quick thing from back in the day. There were people often ask me, do you remember, because ILD was the all be all and do all during that time of communication. And yes, I'm saying now, I knew and know. Elroy, they say, yeah, Elroy, yes. Rick Anderson, Steve Gooseby, all those guys, Coach Willie May, Pebbles, all those people came through WILD. Mike Shannon, T-Clock, all of those guys that are out there doing things now, they all came through
Don't
WILD.
forget Stephen Hill.
Oh, God, I was going to mention Steve and save him for the last because he's, what is it, president of BET or something now?
That's right.
Yeah, Stephen's doing many things. There's the people who did our news department back in the day. WLD had a news department, not just one. We had, and of course we had Skippy White, who was with us from the get-go. He's still doing stuff in the community. And we have had, who else do we have? Al Williams, the late Al Williams. He was the voice of the WILD News. I think that was before you, Dianne. I think so. But in the meantime,
very much. And you know what I think? I think about the fact that list you just ran. Like,
yes.
It does, and not to even mention not only the stars that still, so many of them are still here today, doing their work, but the names, the entertainers that came to Boston because they were brought here through WILD. Every time somebody posts on social media one of those throwback pictures, you know, Donna Summers, Luther, our own New Edition. I still get excited to them like this is new, right? I'm a New Edition fan. But real, like this is just real.
I have so many photographs taken with all the celebrities came, Luther Vandross, Patti LaBelle, all those people came through. And I, you know, sometimes I reminisce and I think about them and I look at the pictures and oh gosh, one day maybe we could do a relive of all the things that was, the things that were, I'm sorry, back in the day. So in the meantime,
but Sandy, here's the thing that I just want to say. I wrap up the way I started. I'm proud to know you. I feel privileged to know you. I'm excited about your mission, your vision. Want people to appreciate the role you've played and just getting information to people. Information is gold, right? Can you imagine in a pandemic not having had an opportunity to talk to people about what was happening in the last 2.5 years? The reason we were able to do that every week, information. I tell people, when you come near this station, get your pen and paper because you're going to get some information.
Absolutely.
It's because of WWOC. That's just the fact. It's because of WWOC. And they are so much advantage of having your sage experience, wisdom, contact, relationships, all brought to bear to deliver news to people on a regular basis. So I want to say publicly, thank you. I say thank you every week, but I get to say it to your face today.
Thank you.
Get to say it to your face. And also, for people to know, we don't take a break. So you know, you're not taking a break. You're going to see the rest of the team over the next several weeks, because I want you to see all of the women and the one gentleman that I talk about every week when I start the show and say, I want to say thank you to the sisters with the vision who knew how important this is. Can't overstate it.
No.
Can't understand. Can't overstate it. But to say thank you. Any parting words?
I am so pleased and happy to have this opportunity to speak out instead of behind the scenes. And
She
I
caught
thank
me,
you.
y'all. She caught me. She didn't want. She caught
No,
me.
I have a lot of ideas and thoughts, but I just like to share them because I feel that, I feel I've had a good, positive radio life here in Boston.
Oh my goodness, the wisdom.
And I just want to share it because there are other young people, there are more young people out there now than previously, I think, who have a broad interest. And I want to be able to take that to share this and not take all this information with me to my grave. I want to be able to give it out there so people will be able to spread it and use it whatever they can and make success with it. So thank you, Dianne Wilkerson,
We'll be
for
back next
giving me
week,
this
11
opportunity.
a.m., right?
Thank you.
Woke Women Wednesday. Expect
Thank
some
you.
more information, more news. But thank you today to my wonderful guest, Sandy Robinson. And so until next week, as I always tell you all, stay safe. And if you see large crowds, put that mask on because COVID is surging. Again, this new BA.5 is the most contagious. So many people have been, I say, set down for a minute because of the COVID. And as we get ready to go back to school, start thinking about a plan for how you protect and make your children safe. Wear those masks. And we'll be talking about monkeypox in the next couple of weeks as well, because it's real. It's in Boston. It is here. I know the Boston Public Health Commission is planning a town hall to give people information. I know that Blast Boston COVID-19 Coalition is going to be distributing information to people who come to get tested to our van every week. So we're signing out. Friday night, get your cup of tea, your glass of wine, and play it. I'm going to share. You share this with your friends. It's available to share. Listen up. You're always going to learn something. Sandy Robinson, the Queen of Radio, signing off.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.